Good day, good morning to all of you. Thank you for joining us this morning to watch Agenda, your program here on Cignal TV, One News, channels 8 and 250. Maraming salamat po. Thank you for being subscribers of Cignal TV and following the program, whether it's in the morning, that's live because there are friends who are confused. We are live 8 to 9, Monday to Friday, here on Cignal TV. And we do have replays in the afternoons. So please be informed that some of you might be texting me in the afternoon. That's the replay. But nonetheless, thank you also to those of you who watch us via Facebook and YouTube, particularly friends abroad and who'd like to catch up on what's happening in the Philippines. And of course, thank you for those of you who watch us via the Cignal Play app. And syempre, maraming salamat PLDT Home Fiber Optic Internet, Mr. Marco Borlongan, for your continued service to the nation. Okay, so it's a Thursday, October 12, 2023, and we are going to be tackling different subject matters, subjects like the POGO, the rice subsidy, education, politics with our guest this morning, who is a agenda regular and who is one of the hardest working senators in the country. Someone asked me about senators recently, and the person said, among the senators, who do you think is really there, working, contributing? Well, our guest for today is one of those, but we'll save that for later. For now, let's go to our daily starter. And our daily starter, let me set it up first, comes from the Netflix TV series Ted Lasso. And if you haven't watched it yet, this weekend would be a good time to watch it. But I warn you, you will initially find it parang, I'm not sure about this, but you will catch on. It catches on, and you might end up binge watching. Everyone who has heard about it and watched it say the same. Para hindi ako makabitaw, ang daming learnings. It teaches you so many practical lessons in life presented with humor and very light drama. But today, our daily starter has to do with the situation where we tend to worry, we tend to panic or react. Many of you, "Hoy, Mare, nakita ko si Pare kasama yung sekretary niya sa mall." Or, "Oy, did you hear they're going to retrench, blah, blah, blah." Kumbaga, mga usapang marites. It's quite common in the Philippines that word goes before reality. And in some cases, it's true. You find out from other people first instead of being told first. But here's our daily starter. Find out before you flip out. Bago ka magwala, siguraduhin mo muna. Alamin mo muna bago ka magwala. Find out before you flip out. Because a lot of us, have this tendency, propensity to imagine the worst case scenarios, to go through multiple scenarios, when in fact the best thing to do is call. In fact, that is in the Bible. If you have an issue with your brother or someone, go to that person and talk about it. Discuss it with that person. And if that person will not hear you, then take someone with you and go to that person again. Kumbaga, humanap ka ng bridge, ng tulay, ng peacemaker. But if after several attempts that person doesn't listen to you, then call the elders so that at least they are witness na you've done your best to remedy the situation. But in this case, in today's Daily Starter, it's all about find or know the facts, get the information, do your intelligence work before you come to the conclusion, because sometimes we imagine the worst when it's not even about us. Okay, let's now go to the front page of the Philippine Star. And unfortunately, the headline it continues to be bad news, and it is about two Pinoys killed in Hamas raid. Well, we already heard about that yesterday. In fact, I think I did mention it yesterday, but now it's official. Two Pinoys killed in Hamas raids, according to the Department of Foreign Affairs. Now, those two Filipinos are just two of many other foreigners who were captured, kidnapped, and killed by Hamas rebels or Hamas terrorists. They're not even rebels. They're terrorist groups. And we'd like to express our condolences to sa mga namatayan po. That is the tragedy of the Filipino. We go abroad for our family members and only to be subjected to criminal activity, or in this case, terrorist activity. At the top of the front page, we have after PhilHealth, PSA naman ang tinamaan. PSA suffers data breach. But before you panic, let me give you before you flip out, let me give you the information, okay? The PhilHealth, what happened to PhilHealth was a Medusa ransomware. Kumbaga, no, hostage, okay, blackmail. PSA data breach, pinagnakawan sila ng information. It is a very particular data breach regarding their community activities, where they target or determine who should be the beneficiary of certain government services in conjunction with the DSWD. So kumbaga, whoever took the data may interest siguro sa mga community, mga 4Ps, etc. Meanwhile, okay, we have a photo to the left of the front page, upper front page, the Eiffel Tower, okay, in Paris, France, lights up in the colors of the Israeli flag after a demonstration in Paris in a show of support for Israel on Monday. I do hope you guys can get that on the screen. And the DOE, or Department of Energy, has announced that Israel conflict won't affect oil prices. Okay, so yan po. Malabo daw makaapekto ang gera sa Israel because the two sides have no direct engagements or involvement in the supply chain of oil. But there is a little story there. Meralco rates up this month. So just an advisory to everyone. The Meralco rates are going to go up for the month of October, and it has nothing to do with distribution charges. It is all about the fact that many of the independent power producers are reliant on natural gas from Malampaya, and that seems to be short in supply. So tumaas. When the demand is high and the supply is low, prices go up. Meanwhile, we have COA, a statement from Commission on Audit. Duterte, Marcos spent 4.5 billion confidential funds in 2022. The Office of the President, under the shared terms of President Marcos and former President Rodrigo Duterte, spent 4.5 billion in confidential and intelligence funds, CIF, in 2022. Kumbaga, naghati yung taon as President Duterte only had less than, almost half a year. And BBM started his first term in that year. So yun, between the two of them, they spent 4.5 billion. Hindi lang malinaw dito who spent more. Okay, but we don't have time to go into the details. Meanwhile, Ombudsman, okay, wants CIF or confidential intelligence funds cut to 1 million from 51 million. Ayan po. Okay, mabuti pa yung Ombudsman. Sabi, sa inyo na yung 50 million. 1 million na lang kami. Okay na. Consistent with my earlier pronouncement on the matter, I would like to officially request that notwithstanding the investigative functions that the Office of the Ombudsman be appropriated 1 million for its CIF until the end of my term of office. Wow, okay. And bottom part of the Philippine Star, Paul, SWS survey says 33% say quality of life improved. Okay, but before you start asking questions, let me clarify that. About 1 in every 3 Filipinos said quality of life improved in the first year of the Marcos administration. The second quarter survey conducted by social weather stations. Okay, in other words, the survey conducted from June 28 to July 1 and released on Tuesday night is for the first term or first year of the BBM administration. Kasi baka sabihin ninyo, now, sa kasalukuyan po, daming pikon, daming init ulo, daming gutom, okay? So baka magkaroon dito ng, as they say, a lot of questioning. So this survey involves or covers the first year, not the current term, not the current year. Okay, now, ito yung picture naman, in the bottom of the front page, champions of sustainability and economic resilience. Okay, Robinson's offices, the office buildings division of Robinson's Land won the best office development for GBF Centers 1 and 2, located at Bridgetown Destination Estate, Best BPO Office Development for Cybergate Iloilo Towers 1 and 2, and Best Green Development, highly commended for Cyber Omega in Pasig City. Yan po. So sila po yung mga recipients of those awards. Now, here's an interesting story that blew up in the papers yesterday or in the evening, in the late night news. LTFRB whistleblower recants and apologizes. The former Land Transportation, Franchising, and Regulatory Board employee who bared corruption in the agency has recanted his claims 2 days after the suspension of Teofilo Guadis as LTFRB chairman. Jeff Tumbado, former head executive assistant of Guadis, yesterday said that the allegations he made during the October 9 press conference were all unintentional, hindi sinasadya, and misguided. Ligaw ang pag-iisip. Tumbado claimed that Guadis and officials were being paid 5 million in exchange for approval of franchises or securing routes and special permits. I still stand by the issue that there are indeed problems in the agency concerned that required immediate investigation. and those responsible be held accountable. Okay, Tumbado said his claims were born out of impulse, irrational thinking, misjudgment, and poor decision making. Clearly, poor decision because tulak ng bibig, kabig ng dibdib ba yan? Nako po. Anyway, meanwhile, Tumbado said his claims, meanwhile, the Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista said yesterday that he will file charges against individuals claiming he is involved in a bribery scheme within the Department of Transportation and the LTFRB. Ayan po, kasi ang nangyari po dito, what has happened is that after Tumbado made his statements, okay, Malacanang reacted. And then, of course, ang mga tinamaan is the immediate head of the LTFRB, but nadamay na rin si Secretary Jimmy Bautista. So, of course, there are other players who got involved. And now we are expecting a lot of lawyers to be filing libel cases and complaints with the ombudsman, etc., etc. So this should be a lesson to all of you out there. Okay, it is one thing to express yung sama ng loob, but when you start doing it in the form of a press conference, press release, and making accusations that you cannot back or you cannot stand by. Kasi meron pong mga accusations na totoo, pero pag hindi mo kayang panindigan at matatakot ka lang, ay nako po, mag-isip-isip. Okay. Meanwhile, okay, I don't know if you got this yesterday, but there were a lot of Facebook posts saying that the longest days are here. Meron daw napakahabang weekend, sobrang long weekend because of the October 30 special holiday for the Barangay Sangguniang Kabataan elections. Okay, President Marcos has declared October 30 a non-working day to allow Filipinos to participate in the upcoming barangay and sangguniang kabataan elections. Okay. It is imperative that the people be given the full opportunity to participate in the said elections and exercise the right to suffrage. Okay, so what will happen is October 30 is a non-working holiday. It is a no work, no pay policy prevails during special non-working holidays. But those who opt to report for work are entitled to extra pay. So yan magkaliwanagan po tayo dyan. Okay, according to Commission on Elections Chairman George Garcia, they requested for the declaration so that more people could cast their votes. But let us be guided also. Apparently, there is a Supreme Court decision on the matter. So, in any case, that is going to be a long weekend. For the barangay Sangguniang Kabataan elections, but may we remind all of you, okay, yan pong eleksyon, kanya yung ginagawang holiday para bumoto kayo. You need to vote, you must vote, it is required by law, and ultimately, if you don't vote this coming election, you didn't vote in the last election, etc., baka mamaya when you get there, sabihin sa inyo, ay, na-delist na po kayo. Okay, so for the time being, that is all the news we have on the front page of the Philippine Star. And we are still coordinating with our guests for today. And we will see they might be having technical problems, but we'll go for a quick break. And if not, I will continue updating you on what's happening in the news out there. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Okay, welcome back to your program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and we are still trying to set up our connection with our regular guest, who is a member of the Senate on various topics. But unfortunately, that is taking a little longer than normal. So in the meantime, you're stuck with me. Pasensya na po, no? But I'm going to have to tackle other issues. And in the meantime, let us talk about the news that's on the inside page, page 2 of the Philippine Star, where Rodi defends Sara on confidential funds. You might have heard that President Rodrigo Duterte the other night came out on television defending his daughter, Vice President Sara Duterte, and talking about the legitimacy or the correctness of the confidential funds. Now, when this happened, I was in a dinner and a number of people reacted to ano ba talaga yung confidential intelligence funds na yan? Sobra naman yan. And here's the deal. For those who don't know, for those who never knew, or for those who were never interested, the usual reaction was to say unbelievable, it's abuse, etc. Only to be surprised when we told them that the confidential intelligence funds has long been there. Matagal na pong ginagawa yung confidential intelligence funds. Ginagawa po yan abroad. Many countries do it, and they are using it primarily to fund projects that need to be done but could be obstructed by misunderstanding or controversy. So ang nangyayari dyan, they basically provide money for certain operations. I mean, like let's say for instance, the Pentagon. The Pentagon is the one institution that was never subject to audit until one day Congress said, enough is enough, we will do that. So as far as the CIF or confidential intelligence funds are concerned, matagal na po yan. And it has been a practice that if you ask and you are able to justify, it is given. Unfortunately, it has also become a political tool for good and for bad. Okay, so anyway, I will have to cut that short, but please research. Sabi ko nga, know the facts before you flip out, diba? Yan yung daily starter natin. Okay, I'm going to have to go to our quick shift shuffle here. We are making the connection. So Gab, if you would, okay, we have, I asked for our executive producer one quick question lang po. Mr. Rosendo Sosinag, President, to discuss this napabalitang fake pork shortage. Kasendoso, I hope you're there.
Yeah, Manong, magandang umaga sa lahat.
Okay, pasensya na. Quick question lang, Ka Rosendo, and then I'll have to go to our main guest for today. But matanong ko lang, ano ba ito? Fake shortage, sabi ni Jason Kainglet, that the pronouncement that there might be a pork shortage is just to justify the removal of tariffs or continuation of reduced tariffs for imported pork.
Ang ano natin for this coming December, wala tayong pagkakulang ng stock, no? Since dito sa Luzon, nag-rehabilitate na, no? Kung makita natin compare previous years, mas mataas ang presyo ng Luzon compared to Visaya, Mindanao. Pero this time, ang price ng Luzon is nasa 170. Average, no? Nasa 170. Ibig sabihin, may 160, may 150, may 180. 180. So average nasa 170. Yung price naman sa Bisaya nasa 165 to 170. And Mindanao also is between 165 to 170. Dati,
Okay, so madaling sabi, Kasendong, wala kayong nakikita, you don't see the possibility of a pork shortage.
Yeah, and tuloy yung pag-angkat tuloy-tuloy hindi yung pagpasok kung makita natin 85 million yung nasa cold storage na frozen na imported, no. So I think na correct na ni ASEC de Mesa yesterday na yung import naman hindi naman nila hininto and tuloy-tuloy. So wala naman shortage na nakikita.
Okay. So thank you very much, Rosendo. So always naaasahan to give us a quick response regarding this very disturbing information. Thank you very much, Kasendong.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, magandang umaga.
Okay. That's thank you, Rosendo. So now we go to our next guest, but first let's watch this.
President Bongbong Marcos recently issued Executive Order 41, directing LGUs to suspend the collection of pass-through fees on national roads and collection of any form of fees for all types of vehicles transporting goods. This as inflation continues to hurt the purchasing power of the Filipino people. Senator Gatchalian, meanwhile, has suggested a targeted rice subsidy program in the next 3 to 6 months. Gatchalian noted that modest changes in the prices of food and non-alcoholic beverages will have more dent on the bottom 30% income households since their priority focuses on subsistence. He added that this is where government should concentrate its efforts. But will a rice subsidy be enough for Filipinos amid these difficult times? Let's discuss this further on today's agenda.
Senator Gatchalian is currently the Senate Committee Chairman on Ways and Means. He is also the concurrent chairman of the Senate Committee on Basic Education. Prior to being a senator, Gatchalian was 1st District Representative of Valenzuela. He also served as mayor of the city.
Okay, Senator Gatchalian, good morning, sir. Pasensya na, nagkaroon tayo ng technical difficulties. So please join us now. And good morning to you.
Good morning, Cito. Good morning to our televiewers.
Okay. Okay, Senwin, it's going to be like a speed dating for today, no? So I have to ask you so many questions. First, on the rice subsidy, your ways and means, usually ways and means to find ways to tax people or collect revenues. But now you're talking about giving rice subsidies. Biglang napakamot ako ng ulo. Ha? Ba't nagkaganon?
Well, part ng trabaho namin, Cito, is to look at the economic activity and economic issues of our country. And you're right that our job is to raise revenues, but this is in the context of our economic situation. You cannot just increase taxes or add new fees in a situation wherein people are already feeling the impact of inflation and other economic situations. So in other words, we look at the broader economic scene before we make any recommendations on revenue. In this particular case, inflation is the biggest, probably the giant elephant in the room. And rice in particular is the biggest elephant in that room. So we need to address that issue. In fact, in my opinion, yung binaba ni Presidente na 15 percentage points sa kanyang approval rating has something to do with rice, no? Because rice talaga literally diretso sa sikmura eh.
Mm-hmm.
And yan talaga ang sentimento ngayon ng tao at dapat mabigyan natin ng pansin itong presyo ng bigas.
Okay, now how would giving subsidies improve the situation?
Mm-hmm. The approach that I'm taking is targeted approach.
Okay.
It's more efficient. This is more. This is already set up. We have the 4Ps, we have the listahanan, and now the DSWD has launched their food stamp. So in other words, the bottom 30, which is experiencing extreme, my point of view, extreme inflation because of high prices of rice, needs to be subsidized. I'll give you an example. The PSA tracks down the bottom 30, meaning the bottom 30 poorest constituents of our country. And we experienced about 6% in inflation. They experienced it more, about 9 to 10%. And the reason for that is rice and food takes up about 60 to 70% of their food basket, as opposed to, let's say, the upper echelons of our society, wherein food is normally lower, about 20 to 30%. But for our poor constituent, it's a bigger part of their basket. Therefore, they experience inflation much greater than us. So we need to help
because
them.
because they earn so little, minimum wage sila, they have bigger families, and so the little money they have to feed so many more mouths than normal, and so in effect mas mahirap, mas mahal para sa kanila magpakain, and it doesn't even talk about luxuries, rents, etc. Electricity. Okay.
Correct. So in other words, we need to caution the impact of high prices of rice. Right now, because of the typhoons, because of international curtailment, like India curtailed their exports, even in the global market, the prices of rice is quite high. So in other words, we need to give temporary relief to the poorest constituents, that's the bottom 30, by adding a little bit more in terms of subsidy.
Okay, now you're the Ways and Means Committee Chairman. Now, what about taxing the stuff that's not good for our health? Kasi may mga nagsasabi, ang lakas bumili, we spend so much money buying soft drinks, sugared products, processed food, junk food, and we have, I don't know how high we are in the charts, but we are at the top part of, diabetes. We have every LGU I know is now putting up a kidney dialysis center. Kayo, I know you in Valenzuela have done that. Isn't it time that we toughen up on, accessibility to these unhealthy products and tax them?
Cito, I'm for a healthy society. We can prevent a lot of deaths. We can prevent a lot of ailments if we live our life in a healthy manner, meaning eat healthy, exercise regularly, have a healthy lifestyle. And some food, for example, soft drinks, junk food, even processed meats, can affect that healthy lifestyle. But we have to balance that. Now, right now, we have a sugar sweetened beverage tax. We actually tax soft drinks and sweetened beverage. There's talk now to impose excise tax on junk food and other unhealthy products. I'm open in looking at that, but we need to balance it very well, because junk food also, there's obviously, if we reduce the consumption of junk food, this will affect manufacturing and it will affect jobs as well. And at the same time, a lot of our sari-sari stores make their money or earn their revenue from this type of food product. So we need to balance that. But in short, I'm open in looking at that to promote healthy lifestyle and find ways to encourage more people to live their life healthy.
Okay, then before you came in, I was speaking with Rosendo. So because the other day nagkagulo eh. There was a presentation by a DA official, an undersecretary, I think, who said that they believe there might be a pork shortage, and then someone from Rosendo So's group said, "Oy, teka nga, wala kaming nakikita. We don't see any possible shortage. This is just part of your scenario of the economists trying to lower the tariffs to favor, etc., etc." Now, clearly, we have a situation where economists want to abide with international commitments of open doors or lower tariffs, But if we have lower tariffs, poor local production because of so much importation, where is the government going to get the much needed funds? Are we going to be borrowing and borrowing money from foreign banks?
Cito, this is really a very difficult situation, and I have high respects to Mr. Rosendo. So, in fact, I consult with him on things regarding agriculture. I will not claim I'm an agriculture expert, but looking at how agriculture behaves, it's basically a supply and demand issue. And you reach certain level of equilibrium where everyone's happy, meaning the domestic producers are happy and the consumers are happy. You have to remember that ultimately we are the ones being fed rice, pork, chicken, tayo yung consumers. And we need to make sure that there's equilibrium, meaning the prices are reasonable on our behalf and our domestic producers are making money and they're also happy. But there are sometimes aberrations in supply and demand. For example, things like yung pestilence or yung mga foot and mouth disease or
ASF, avian flu.
Or yung mga bagyo. And this can disrupt supply. And this is where temporary importation, and I have to emphasize on temporary. Importation cannot be a long-term solution. It will kill our agriculture industry. But there are some cases and some instances wherein we need to import so that we will reach that price equilibrium and our consumers can afford. Because if we will not reach that equilibrium, our poor constituents cannot afford to buy food, and we will again subsidize them. And in fact, that will be a cash out from our government.
Okay, now why is it that other nations in the region, Thailand, Vietnam, I'm told, I haven't verified to be honest, but I am told they have a no pork, no chicken importation.
Yeah, yan talagang dream natin, Cito. I think every administration will dream that one day we will not have importation as a last resort. Instead, we will export every single agri product and every single agro product. That's ultimate. That's to be honest, Cito, that's the favorite campaign promise of all administration. But it's easier said than done. Meaning we need to invest in infrastructure. We need to invest in productivity. We need to make sure that our farmers, our growers, can compete with international markets. That means infrastructure should be put in place and all the support should be put in place.
Let me go back to your earlier statement regarding conditional importation. Is it not possible for you to pass a law where any and all agricultural importations, or let's say primary na lang, chicken, pork, beef, and yung mga sugar, garlic, etc., that it has to go through a body of stakeholders. Hindi lang yung Bureau of Plant Industry or Bureau of Animal Industry who decides who gets the import permits. Because even Senator Cynthia Villar got into, tumaas ang blood pressure ni Senator when she was asking a DA official regarding the importations. I think that person was the Bureau of Animal Industry. Na parang, do you understand how to regulate this? So, is there no way you can pass a law in the Senate where before any import permits are granted, it has to go through a body that will screen it and determine if this is a conditional import or if there is an abuse of the importation?
Actually, that's the job of the Department of Agriculture, Cito. They have all the data and statistics and they have all the forecasts. Supply and demand relies on data and forecast. It's a basic economic practice.
Yes.
No, so they need to have accurate data. They need to have accurate forecast in order to see whether we need to import in the future or not. Because when you import, you also need to factor in transportation delays, importation delays, logistical activity,
Local impact.
local impact. So you need to do all of these studies.
Yeah, but apparently they are a kingdom to themselves.
Yeah, yun
No
ang,
one.
that is the it's a problem of trust, Cito, and that's where Mr. Rosendo is coming from. It's a problem of trust, meaning there's allegations that some DA officials are favoring importers because importing is very profitable. You can
Yes.
import and sell, walang puhunan. You can just buy.
Senator, wala pa ako nakikitang mahirap na importer.
Wala pang nakikita mahirap na trader. No,
Yun, isa pa yun.
Walang puhunan Cito eh. All you need is a one document and you can import and sell it right away. It's a commodity.
Yeah,
So that's where the trust come in because parang walang tiwala ang ating mga agriculture stakeholders dun sa mga datos at pronouncement na inilalabas. Kaya that needs to be addressed.
Okay, let's go for a quick break, Senator. And after the break, I would like to shift gears, talk to you about the confidential fund issue, quick lang, and then on the POGO that some of your fellow senators have started to backpedal, and then, of course, on education. We'll be right back here on Agenda.
After the hacking incident in PhilHealth, the Philippine Statistics Authority also fell victim to a cyber attack. The National Privacy Commission confirmed on Wednesday. PSA assured the public that the data used in the Philippine Identification System and the Civil Registration System were not compromised. Prior to this, Senator Gatchalian urged all government agencies and the private sector to beef up their protection against cybersecurity threats. He also filed the Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Act. It aims to mandate all covered critical information institutions to protect their ICT systems and infrastructures. Aside from this, Gatchalian is still pushing for the total ban of Philippine offshore gaming operators, or POGOs. He earlier insisted that more senators are now joining him for his call against POGO operations. Let's discuss these recent efforts in the Senate on today's agenda.
Okay, welcome back, Senator Win Gatchalian. And I guess I'll have to start with the Pogo issue. I was very concerned, and alam mo naman, number one supporter mo ko regarding that Pogo thing. But I was surprised that 3 senators publicly stated that they were going to tackle, debate the issue. One even said openly na kaplastikan. That was Senator J.B. Ejercito. What was your reaction to all of that?
Well, generally, Cito, they all agree to ban Pogo. What we will be debating on is the time on when we will ban Pogo, and also the unintended consequences or intended consequences that will be impacted when we ban Pogo. For example, what will happen to the Filipinos who are working in the Pogos? We have to talk about. They're also concerned about the ancillary businesses or the small businesses that are benefiting from Pogos. They're also concerned with the lease of areas. Pogos here, they don't build anything; they just lease. No?
Yeah.
And when they are banned, then what will happen to those buildings that they are leasing on? So those are the things that we need to debate. But in terms of the concept to ban them, there's a growing support. There's actually support and a growing support to ban them. It's just a matter of how long and when.
Yeah, because I noticed based on the patterns that I observed, obviously there's a public relations campaign for the delay of the ban. Now, has there been a call for government officials to declare if they have buildings and offices that they own that are being rented to Pogo? Because it might shock you, Mr. Senator.
Well, I don't have any information to that, but that definitely, Cito, will be shocking if our own government buildings are being leased out to Pogos. Number one, there's a national security concern to that effect. So, and then number two, they're embroiled in crime. So, nakakahiya naman if our own...
Well, not government property, but government officials who own buildings leasing out to Pogo operators, because may nagsumbong na sa akin na isa cabinet member pa. But anyway, it's hard to verify those things, so I will not extend my speculation. But so the issue now is not if, but when.
Yes, I think that it will boil down to that question: when and how long do we need to give them in order to wind down? And
Okay.
what are the activities that we need to address? No, for example, employment, and then the other issues that we need to look at. No, so you're right. It's not an issue of if we will ban it or not, because generally the sentiment is to ban it. But when do we do that?
Okay, now in a related development, what about e-sabong? Because I wrote that in my column for yesterday, and I said, mukhang bumalik ang online sabong, but it is not the group of Mr. Atong Ang. It is a renegade group. They are unknown and mukhang rigged, etc. And now the previous operators are saying they want to redesign online to consider all of the complaints, address all the complaints, and be subject to better regulation. Would you support that?
Categorically, e-sabong is banned in our country, and PAGCOR has banned that. The previous administration under President Duterte has banned that, and the ban has never been lifted. So if there are e-sabongs happening, and I know there are, these are underground and sporadic e-sabong activities. But our enforcers should close them down. Both the ICT should close down the website. The Philippine National Police should raid and arrest those operators. Okay. And I'm not in favor of anything that will make it easy for our constituents to gamble. If you put gambling into the palms of our constituents, especially if you make it micro, meaning micro amounts, no, meaning piso, 10 pesos, it will be a disaster on the part of our constituents because it will be easier for them to bet. Even children can bet, and it will be easier for them, affordable for them to bet.
Last question, Senator, and if you choose to decline, I don't know what your position is, but regarding Sara Duterte, Vice President Duterte's, getting embroiled in this confidential intelligence funds. Obviously, the public in general are ignorant about its history and its real purpose. What are your sentiments about it?
Cito, you're right. I heard you talk about confidential funds prior to this interview, I think in your opening. And you're right. The confidential funds are legal and it has a purpose. It's for surveillance, it's for peace and order, it's for stopping crime from happening in a particular sector or particular department. I was a former mayor once, and I know crime does happen in our schools, drugs, gangs, fraternities, rambol, these things, even human trafficking happens in our schools. And I had personal experience in those. And part of the Department of Education's responsibility is to make our schools safe. And we need to equip them with the necessary tools and funds in order to assure our constituents that our schools are safe and it's safe for school children to attend to. Now, on how to approach it, what type of spending, that is an issue that we need to look at in Congress and in the Senate.
Okay, so it is really a question of law and purpose instead of being a subject to determination by a political group. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the question is, are the spending justified? Are they spending the right amounts? Is the magnitude of the spending correspond to the magnitude of the crime? Those are the things that we need to look at. And then Senate is looking at this, not only the Department of Education, but the entire bureaucracy. We're analyzing, we're studying whether the confidential funds being requested by all departments, by various departments, are justified. I'll give you a very specific example where I think it's justified. The DICT. Earlier, we talked about cyber attacks, and cyber attacks are getting much more prevalent nowadays, and it's getting bolder nowadays. And we need to equip the DICT as well with the necessary tools and funds to buy equipment, to hire experts. And some of these equipment and experts cannot be shown to the public because of its national security aspects. And this is where the confidential funds will come in.
Okay, well, Senator Win, as always, you are a source of credible and reliable information, and we do thank you for your services to the nation. Thank you, and God bless you.
Maraming salamat, Cito. Thank you.
Okay, that's Senator Win Gatchalian, and we will now go to our closing blessing for the week, and it comes from this book, second book of Samuel, chapter 22, verse 7. In my distress, I called to the Lord. I called out to my God. From his temple, he heard my voice. My cry came to his ears. And I do hope that your day goes well. Please include us in your prayers, team agenda. God bless you. Please keep it here on One News.